Watcher, everybody. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about a paper published by JP Morgan, which Ido Farnier here kindly posted to Twitter. And Ido mentioned the following information that was in this paper. Ripple is the first body member of ISO 222. That's the payment standard. The document below was published on his official website after JP Morgan started, and he's pointing to this document where the, in quotes, XRP is poised for significant adoption. So thanks, Ido, for this tweet. And this is actually a paper that I've read previously in the past when I created a video where I tried to put together a price model for XRP based on the single use case of the amount of capital that's available in correspondent banking. And I'll put a link to that video, but this is while I was doing the research for that video, I came across this paper. And I just want to run through this with you because I'm not sure, the way this is phrased, it sounds like JP Morgan are officially saying something about XRP, but actually, as I'll show you in the paper, it's not very well researched, I think. Sorry to the authors, but I'll try and point out some of the flaws. And actually, the paper is shilling JP Morgan's own mCBDC. So let's go into this. The original paper by Oliver Wyman from JP Morgan, unlocking 120 billion value in cross-border payments. And this is why I was looking at this paper. If you unlock that value, what would be the impact on the XRP price? I mean, because this would be, you're essentially removing friction. You're removing the dollar value of held in Nostra Vostro correspondent banking system, and also reducing the costs of dealing with that system, which, as the author here, Oliver, suggests, it's 120 billion is the dollars. Is the calculation they made, which actually isn't a huge amount, by the way. Anyway, let's go through this. The executive summary: global corporates move nearly 23.5 trillion across countries annually, equivalent to about 25% of global GDP. That's quite a lot. To do this, they have to rely on wholesale cross-border payment processes, which remain suboptimal from a cost, speed, and transparency standpoint. Totally agree so far. As well as resulting in significant transaction costs of 120 billion per annum, these processes also result in additional costs from FX conversion, trapped liquidity, and delayed settlements. So far, so good. No complaints with Oliver's summary of the problem that we're trying to solve here. A quote from the senior treasury manager, Global Packaging MNC, to support this. While working on some strategic transactions, our team was on high alert with inconsistent messages coming from numerous banks along the chain. This is the payment chain. While the current system have been optimized to handle day-to-day transactions, the non-regular, high-value and time-pressured transactions are an area to improve. So just highlighting some of the problems that they've been having with cross-border payments. Back to Oliver. While numerous private sector players from CLS Group to SWIFT and central banks such as the Hong Kong Monetary Authority and Bank of Thailand have initiated various projects to resolve the existing pain points, we are yet to see a scalable and seamless solution that can work across countries, currencies, and payment systems. We believe that a multi-currency central bank digital currency, an mCBDC network, could provide an effective blueprint to tackle many of these problems simultaneously, thereby making 24/7 and real-time cross-border, cross-currency payments a real possibility. And then a quote from the head of cash management, again from Global Technology MNC: I'm convinced that CBDCs could bring transactional cash management to the next level from the standpoint of accessibility, convertibility, reachability, and traceability. Okay, so right off the cuff, this to me sounds like a walled garden implementation, where JP Morgan create a platform that can handle multiple central bank digital currency payments. And if you're in that platform, you will definitely benefit. But it's a walled garden, as far as I can see, and we can give Oliver a chance to elaborate on this maybe. And I'm not sure if it solves the biggest problem with CBDCs and cross-border payments, which is counterparty risk. That's the whole point of having a bridge asset that's ideally openly, publicly available, or has a free market price that can't be easily manipulated. That's why XRP as a bridge asset makes a huge amount of sense from the counterparty perspective, but also from the speed of settlement and other criteria as well. So let's just finish off reading this executive summary. This paper builds on all the previous literature on CBDCs and aims to outline the implementation considerations for central banks to partner with commercial banks to develop, operate, and govern an mCBDC, multi-currency central bank digital currency. Let's just double check this. Yeah, mCBDC. Specifically, this paper outlines 4 critical elements required for implementation. Target design principles, 1. 2 key building blocks, minting and redeeming CBDCs, liquidity provisioning, market making, and foreign exchange payment versus payment settlements. 3. Roles and responsibilities of central banks, commercial banks, and other service providers, e.g. technology companies. And 4. Governance frameworks for managing network access and resolving disputes. It also details an alternative and complementary model of multi-currency digital corridor network. While the implementation considerations could apply to participants globally, we have used the ASEAN region as an example, given that it contributes approximately 7% of global cross-border trade and is home to thousands of European, Asian, and North American MNCs. The end result: a full-scale mCBDC network which facilitates 24/7 real-time cross-border payments and FX PVP settlements could save global corporates nearly 100 billion annually. Naturally, an mCBDC solution would trigger a rethink on how commercial banks and other foreign exchange providers may deliver their current offerings. However, we are encouraged by the potential for new business and operating models, which could yield long-term benefits for all participants. Okay, the paper then goes on to make the case for an mCBDC, which again streamlined frictionless payments, faster, easier to track, fewer errors, everything that any improvement on current cross-border payments would promise. Settlement times, for example, etc. And then it describes the process for a cross-border payment as it exists today, and then how that could look like when it's replaced by mCBDC. So this is the controversial, Exhibit 3 is the controversial piece of this paper, where I think Oliver hasn't done his homework properly here. So he outlines various commercial efforts, and then describes to what extent they fulfill that they reach the target state. And oddly enough, quasi-CBDC networks intended primarily to provide delivery as payment capabilities score quite highly, But guess who scores the best? Exploring full-scale mCBDC platforms. So let's just go through this quickly. Commercial efforts, CLS, continuous linked settlement system, a multi-currency FX net settlement system intended to eliminate settlement risk, Herstat risk through the FX payment versus payment PVP. On low cost, it scores 50%, I guess. On instant settlement, 25%, and transparency, 75%. What are the challenges? 18 currencies supported, difficult to scale, owing to challenges in adding new currencies to existing set of 18 currencies, delivery of currencies post settlement, non-customizable netting windows. Not a great solution. I wonder how old it is as well. It smells like it's been around a long time if it's got these problems. Then our favorite provider of cross-border settlement capabilities, Swift, Global Payments Innovation product. Track and trace capabilities with transaction processing service level agreements intended to increase transparency to cross-border payments and improve processing time. Scores a little bit worse on cost than CLS, the same in instant settlement time, but has more transparency. Relying on current correspondent banking system with multiple intermediaries involved, trapped liquidity, credit, and settlement risk continue to remain. So it's just like a slight improvement on existing Swift, according to Oliver anyway. Finality, quasi-CBDC networks intended primarily to provide delivery versus payment capabilities, as we said before, scores pretty highly, 25 and then 100 for the other two. Pending regulatory approvals from 5 participating central banks and currencies. Gosh, that's going to take a while, I would imagine. Then we have Ripple, presumably ODL, but maybe other products. Cross-border payments infrastructure intended to use cryptocurrency XRP as a settlement instrument. And it doesn't score highly on cost, which I find surprising. It doesn't really elaborate why. Instant settlement, no doubt there. It scored 100%. So I think Oliver agrees that you can settle very quickly on the XRP ledger. Transparency, not as transparent as Finality or Swift. So I don't know how he came to that conclusion. It's a public blockchain, XRPL. How much more transparent do you want to get? So yeah, odd. I'm not sure I agree with these scores. Well, I don't agree with these scores. Let's see what his challenges are for Ripple. High volatility of XRP leading to limited willingness from banks in using it to facilitate payments. Well, that's a massive misunderstanding of how XRP is being used. He's obviously thinking that they have to buy and hold their own XRP, carry market and FX risks while they're doing that. That's precisely the problem that Ripple solves. And if you don't understand this, if you think this is a challenge, I really have to begin questioning your approach for evaluating competing technologies, Oliver. Because this is fundamental. I mean, it's quite an unforgivable mistake to make. You know, I was at Deutsche Bank for 6 years, and if I wrote a paper like this, someone would have kicked me for making a mistake as silly as that, in terms of an evaluation of a product or a service or technology. Relatively high costs owing to spreads between fiat and XRP. Again, it's bizarre. So that's why you think it's expensive. The cost, you don't hold it. The liquidity providers in the system, whether they're brokers, exchanges, Ripple itself, could be even me providing liquidity on the XRPL DEX. We carry those risks, and we've decided we want to hold XRP, and yeah, bizarre. And then, of course, the project Dunbar, which utilizes the mCBDC, scores 100% on all of these. Challenge a highly integrated international collaboration with global scale requires a significant amount of coordination and negotiations. So yeah, I would say more than significant, and it's a walled garden. And you haven't got counterparty risk here at all, really, in terms of like, I'm not sure how this mCBDC will work, but if you've created a walled garden, I guess you can eliminate counterparty risk. So yeah, this is why I think this paper hasn't been well thought out. I mean, I'm not going to go through the rest of it. I just think it's not the best thing to cite for XRP adoption, or even frankly, I didn't find it that useful for coming to a price prediction for XRP. So I'll leave it there, keep it short for this particular video. I hope this explains why, to some extent, why this paper isn't great. Certain elements of it I've got no problem with, but the conclusion is clearly an internal paper to shill Project Dunbar and mCBDCs. So I hope it's critically evaluated by its intended audience, and not taken on face value. If you enjoyed that, go to hoos.crypto. That's where I post my videos. Like, subscribe, and share. I'm also the administrator of CryptoGB, which is a Facebook group, the sane, scammer-free place to discuss all things crypto. So if you're on Facebook, join us there. And I'm on Twitter as well. Thank you very much.